Hello, my dear friends. I welcome you all to our channel Best Notes Tutorials. Lolita, a Russian novel, is the topic of discussion today. Before we start, let me tell you some secret about this novel. And the first thing is that when Lolita was ready for the publication, none of the publishers were ready to publish it. Now, you might ask why. Why a book was not accepted by any of the publishers. The reason is that there was vulgarity in it, which showed relationship between father and daughter. Not only that, father having rapist mindset, and not only that, he had a relationship with almost everybody with whom he met. So, because of all these reasons, the publishers were not ready to publish it. Finally, one of the press of Paris was ready to publish it, and therefore we have this novel. Now, whether we consider it a boon or bane, it is up to us. It was Olympia Press from Paris which agreed to publish this book. And when it was published, there was a great controversy throughout the world. And another important fact was that this particular publication, it was ready to publish this particular novel, that is Lolita. It is because they were known for publishing all these sorts of novels which were vulgar, which had adult content. And not only that, they were infamous. I'll not say famous, they were infamous because their content was such. It was not acceptable, it was immoral, and therefore what we notice is that the readers had also sought for such kind of stories. They looked for such kind of stories from this particular press. Therefore, it was entertained. Now, let's move to this story. The writer of this novel is Vladimir Nabokov, and he is an Russian American novelist. And after completing Lolita as a novel, he wanted to burn it out, but somehow it was saved by his wife, and she wanted it to be published. The year that was taken for writing this novel was almost 3 years. It was written between 1952 to 1955. So within these 3 years, every minute detail was written in this book. In the year 1955, it was published in Paris, and after that, in the year 1958, it was published in United States as well. Now, I'd like to make a request to everyone that if you are really interested in understanding this story, then please watch it alone, because there are a lot of vulgar things that we have to discuss in order to understand this novel Lolita. All right, it talks about, as I told you, it talks about rape, it talks about sexual assault, and that too by own father. In the starting of the novel, we find John Ray, Mr. John Ray, to be engaged in case study, and the topic of his case study is abnormal psychology. When he was doing so, he found a book which was written by a lunatic person. Lunatic in a sense, a person who has gone mad because of his sexual passion. He wanted to have relationship with the people whom he used to fantasize. So, when he found that book, he wanted to read it, and he came to a conclusion that people are of varieties of mindset. All the people are not normal. All right, even educated, forget about the uneducated, illiterate people, but even educated people are not normal. That is the conclusion that we draw from the novel. So, Mr. John was working on abnormal psychology, and at that point of time, he found a book. This book was written by a rapist and obsessed person, obsessed with physical relationship. And the name of the person was Humbert Humbert. I will not say that he is a he is a protagonist, but I would say he is an antagonist. Antagonist is a villain who is given due importance in the novel. Alright, he cannot be called a hero because of his activities. The activities that he is doing, it cannot be idolized by common people. Therefore, what we say, he is infamous. Okay, famous for wrong thing. He is not famous, infamous. So the character out here is Humbert Humbert, who is throughout the novel and who is at limelight, but not for a good cause, but for a negative role. Hence, he is an antagonist. This man, Humbert Humbert, is a rapist, also a murderer in this story. And in this book, which Mr. Ray found, he talks about his own life. It is an autobiography of Mr. Humbert Humbert. Clear? The name is repetition. Same word is repeated, and this is his name. That is Humbert Humbert. Okay, so Humbert is the one who has written his autobiography, and John Ray, all right, later on he finds this book and he gets to understand about this particular case. Humbert Humbert, the character, murderer, rapist, okay, he talks about kidnapping a young girl. Her name is Lolita, the main victim of this story. He says that Lolita was kidnapped and now she is no more. She is dead, and she died while giving birth to a child. So how all these things happened, we will read the book of Humbert Humbert now. And readers, please understand that this book is being read by Mr. Ray. Alright, the PhD holder, Mr. Ray. With the book which he found, he is reading that. So let's see what is the autobiography of Humbert Humbert. Humbert says when he was just of 13 years, at that age he was in love with a girl. Her name was Annabelle. Annabelle came to stay in the hotel of Humbert's father. And this was the place, the name of the place was Rivera, where Annabelle stayed in the hotel of Humbert's father. At that time, the age of Annabelle was just 12 years. And another thing that we need to notice is that Annabelle and Humbert's parents were friends. They were family friends. Therefore, there was no problem at all in meeting and mating as well. Okay, they were indulged in physical relationship whenever it was possible. So at the age of 13 and 12, Humbert was 13 and Annabelle was 12 when their relationship started. But it was not known to parents, so till then there was no problem. But we know that it was immoral act. They continued making physical relationship until they were caught by parents. So after this happened, Annabelle and Humbert were separated. Now they did not see each other for many years, and then Humbert got a news that Annabelle is no more in this world. She is dead. And this was very devastating for him because he was very much intimate to Annabelle and he could not accept that the girl is no more in his life and in this world as well. When Humbert tried to find out the reason of death of Annabelle, he found that it was because of typhoid. Now, he goes to Paris for studying and tries to forget Annabelle, but it was not possible for him to forget the girl with whom he had made relationship at that age. So it haunts, the memories of Annabelle haunts him, and he was not able to focus on anything in Paris as well. In Paris, he was learning literature, but he was not able to focus on his studies as well. Now, what was the case? The case was that he was very much attracted to young girls between 12 to 14 years of age. He wanted to have a relationship with them, but his own age was growing. Now, from 13 years of boy, he had become a grown up boy, but still his fantasies were with young girls. He never liked a girl who was of his age. Now, what happened? He was indulged into all the wrong things that people do when they don't get people for a relationship. So, he also started learning all those alternatives of this, and which has deteriorated his mind as well. He started searching for young prostitutes so that he can have relationship with them. So in Paris, it was not possible to get everywhere young girls according to his desire. Therefore, he kept on searching everywhere, and he was indulged in that. Now what happened? He wanted to have a solution to this problem. He wanted to have get married. He wanted to get married, and he wanted to solve this problem, because if he will keep on searching, then he will not be able to complete other stuffs. Like, he was a student at that time, so he will not be able to complete his studies, thinking that he said, I'll get married, and whenever I desire, I'll get relationship, and then I can switch to studies later on. While this thought was there in mind of the narrator, Humbert Humbert, he was getting treatment from doctor as well for the same problem. The problem was that he was too much into sexual activities. Okay, he used to think about girls all the time. We used to think about sex all the time. So what happened? He had become so much obsessed with it. So in order to get rid of it, he took help of a doctor, and when he was getting treatment, the doctor's daughter, that is Valeria, she was seen by Humbert Humbert, and he got attracted to her, and later on gets married to this girl Valeria as well. But unfortunately, this could not last long, as Valeria was attracted to another Russian driver. Okay, so she wanted to get married with him, and by that time, Humbert Humbert, after marriage with Valeria, had given up on her. Okay, he did not like the appearance of Valeria after almost 4 years of marriage. By that time, she had become very ugly. All right, physically she was not appealing, sorry, for Humbert Humbert. Therefore, again he was switched to prostitution and search of young girls for relationship. So he wanted to get rid of this girl, this wife, and suddenly Valeria says that she is in love with a Russian driver. So happily, Humbert lets her go, and now again he becomes alone. At this point, he gets a news from America that his American uncle is no more, and after his death, he has given substantial amount of money in his name. So for running business and other stuffs, he had to go to America. After that, he flies to New York, and this was the time when Second World War was going on. Therefore, at Portugal, he had to stop for a week. Now, after some time, he goes to New York, and then he starts writing French literature for universities. In America also, he was not happy because his wife was already gone with Russian driver, and now he was alone again. And he considers that his marriage was big mistake. It was a blunder of his life, because for a purpose he had got married, and that purpose was not fulfilled at that point of time as well. He was again in search of a girl, with whom he can make sexual association again. So in this overthinking, he became so much sick, and he was hospitalized. So for almost 3 years he was there in the hospital, But the doctors, the ward boys, the nurses, they did not allow him to go back to his earlier world. But somehow he manages to escape from this hospital because he understood that here his problem is not going to be cured ever, because his problem solution is, of course, girl, and he was not finding that in hospital. From there he moves to England, and in England he wanted to stay with Macrue's family, where the landlady or the house owner was Charlotte. So this Charlotte lady started flirting with Humbert Humbert while showing her house to him, which Humbert Humbert did not like, because he had interest in young girls and not old ladies. So he had made up his mind that he will not stay with this Charlotte lady. All right. So when he was coming out, he noticed that there was a girl of 12 years. Her name later on was, he came to know about his name, and her name is Dolores. And another nickname for this girl is Lolita, the character's name, the main character's name of this story. And Lolita was so attractive. Therefore, Humbert was not able to stop himself from looking away from this girl. And why it happened was that Lolita looked just like Annabella. Alright, just like Annabella, with whom he had a relationship when he was of just 13 years, who had died because of typhoid. So the appearance of Lolita was just like Annabella, and therefore he was so much attracted towards her. And he said that he is not going to search for any other home, he is going to stay with them. So he started staying with mother and daughter Lolita in their home. Now Humbert was relaxed because his destination has come, and Lolita was not aware about it. But as we think that Lolita is a girl of 12 years and she should be simple, submissive, but it was not the case. She was very much sexual in and out, by appearance and by her gestures as well. So it was Humbert Humbert who used to write everything in his diary, not only about the activities of Lolita, but what he thought, by looking at those activities, what was his desire to do with Lolita at that moment. So everything he used to write, and he wrote this also, that one day he was alone with Lolita, and both of them started singing the best song of Lolita, and that was the moment when Humbert tried to take advantage of this little girl. And somehow it was stopped because of a phone call. It was stopped actually, and after that Lolita was sent for summer camp, and not only Lolita was away from him, but Charlotte as well. And she said that she will return to her home only when Humbert agrees to marry her. Now, Humbert did not have any other option than to marry Charlotte, that is mother of Lolita. And what he does, he gets married, all right, in order to remain close to Lolita. There was no other option, as I have already told, that Charlotte was not so attractive, and there was no interest of Humbert Humbert on this middle-aged lady. Okay, the prime motive was to be with Lolita. After marriage, Humbert and Charlotte, both of them, go to summer camp. And in summer camp, Charlotte, that is mother of Lolita, tells Humbert that she is planning to send Lolita in a hostel so that she can have more time with Humbert Humbert. Humbert will never agree to that, because he wanted to see Lolita day and night, 24 hours 7. So he became so much agitated, and he was so angry at Charlotte. But he controls himself and then tries to convince Charlotte by good nature that He is a good husband and good father, and Charlotte should not send Lolita away from Humbert Humbert ever. And we know, the readers know, that Charlotte wanted to send Lolita away from her. First reason is that she wanted to have time with Humbert. Another reason is that Lolita had become very boisterous. She had become mannerless. So in order to get into right path, she wanted to send her to hostel. Okay, but it was stopped by Humbert Humbert by showing good nature and convincing Charlotte, and she agrees. Now, after this, everything goes smoothly, and Humbert Humbert, he enjoys looking at Lolita. Somehow, he was tolerating Charlotte, mother of Lolita, and things were going on in a normal way. But the plan of Humbert Humbert was so much nasty, and because of that, he gets trapped. What happens is that Humbert Humbert's plan was to give sleeping pills to mother and daughter, and take advantage of this situation on Lolita. So he goes out for buying sleeping pills, sleeping medicines for this purpose, and at that moment, Charlotte reads the diary of Humbert Humbert. When he comes back, the fight issues, and she charges that this was the mindset of a father towards daughter. She questions, and there was a huge fight between them. Charlotte had already tore the pages of the diary of Humbert for sending to Lolita so that she can also understand that the man is not good. Her stepfather is not a good human being. So, in order to post those papers, she had come out, but unfortunately, she dies of a car accident. And it was, in favor of Humbert, because he was not answerable to anybody now why he did this and that. So his path was clear, his wife is no more, and he is happy with Lolita once again. But there was a hurdle. What was that? See, after the death of mother of Lolita, there was a chance that real father of Lolita will come and take her away. But Humbert did not let that happen. What he does, he goes quickly to summer camp and says to Lolita that her mother is not okay. She is hospitalized, so she should come out of summer camp. Lolita also gets very much saddened, and she comes out along with Humbert Humbert, and they stay in a room for that night. The motive of Humbert was not good, as we know. He had already got sleeping pills now. So, those sleeping pills were given to Lolita in the hotel room where they had stayed for that night. And it is so immoral, it is so disgusting that a father tried to rape a daughter. So, fortunately, she wakes up, all right, that maybe that dose did not work, so she gets awakened again, and she forgives father. She knows that he is trying to rape her, molest her, but she forgives father. And on the contrary, what she does, she gets into relationship by herself. Willingly, she you know gets into relationship with her stepfather. So, the novel was in controversy because of these things, because whatever they are projecting in the novel, the same is going to be read and implemented by the people, local people. They will find that it's okay to have relationship with such kind of relationship. So that is why it is in controversy, and we also feel that such kind of stories should not be promoted in society, but it was done for ethical guide. Okay, that if parents are not in track, if parents are not okay, if they are not matured enough to take care of their children, then they are misguided. They are misguided, and this is unethical. They are likely to take unethical path. So after reading the novel, parents should be very much aware about their responsibilities. They should not be, you know, fulfilling their desire first, but they should be seeing the safety, security, respect, reputation of not only their children but they themselves as a whole as well. Now, after their relationship in the hotel, they come out and they started, staying at hotels, highways, etc., wherever they liked, wherever it was comfortable. And then suddenly, Lolita threatens Humbert. What she says is that she threatens him that she will say whatever he did to her to police or to her mother. And at that point of time, Humbert reveals that her mother is no more in this world. Lolita, at that point of time, had no other option than to stay with her stepfather. She also started enjoying company of Humbert, and it was okay with her because everything was being taken care by Humbert of Lolita. All the adamant nature was tolerated by Humbert just because, he wanted something from Lolita. And day by day, he was getting mad for this girl. So he had threatened that she should never leave him, otherwise, the result will not be good for this little girl. So, Lolita or Dolores, her real name, Dolores Haze, she also started staying with Humbert in an okay manner. She compromised with the situation. Now, everything was settled down between Humbert and Lolita, and in the year 1948, they were in California. By that time, even Humbert was exhausted of roaming around aimlessly. So, he wanted to have a proper home for himself and Lolita. So, he became a lecturer in one of the universities, and Lolita got admission in one of the women colleges. And headmistress of this college had noticed something, and that was conveyed to Humbert Humbert. According to other people, they were father and daughter, but we know that they were into dark relationship. In college, headmistress noticed that something is not okay with Lolita because she never used to take part in any of the activities. So she conveyed to Father Humbert that why he does not allow Lolita to mix with other children, why she is not taking part in any of the activities in college. At this point of time, Humbert realizes that headmistress must have noticed that something is wrong between Lolita and he himself. In the month of May 1949, they were again seen on the roads, and Lolita openly says that she does not like such kind of life. She wanted to have life of the hotels where she used to be, and they used to roam day and night. So she did not like college life and interference of the people, so she wanted such kind of life. And Humbert was okay with it. He took Lolita for a trip. They stayed in hotel and everything was back again. So at that point of time, he realizes that there is a red car which is following them. After some days, Humbert noticed that Lolita was not as she was before. She used to call somebody and she used to see secretly somebody out of the room, out of the hotel. And in between, Lolita's health was down and he had taken Lolita to the hospital. And after admitting her, he had come back. But when he had gone again to get her discharged, what happens? He finds that Dolor, that is Lolita, is not there in the hospital. In the reception, he gets to know that she was already taken away by her uncle. Who was that? Nobody knows, not even the readers. By this time, Humbert had become so much frustrated for Lolita. He searched day and night for 2 years, but he could not get any trace of Lolita. So finally, he stopped that and he came across another girl, that is Rita. And after 2 years of searching Lolita, he was with this girl, Rita, for 2 more years. Now, suddenly, in the month of September 1952, he gets a letter from Lolita that she got married to a person, an engineer named Dick. In the letter, she had mentioned that her husband had to go to Alaska to join job and therefore she requires some money. After getting the letter, Humbert wants to get location of Lolita anyhow. And in 2 years of search, he had become so much expert in locating person's address very easily. Now he had got the letter, and through that, with the help of postmaster and post office, he tried to reach to Lolita once again. Now, after getting the location of Lolita, he gets a gun with him and heads towards that location. He thought that the person who was following 2 years ago in the car to them, he is the one who had kidnapped Lolita and got married. But it was not so. Later on, it proved that it was somebody else. He reaches to Lolita's house and Lolita gives hospitality to Humbert. She gives respect, she provides food and lodging to father. And at that time, he understands that he still loves Lolita. Now she has grown up and she is pregnant with Dick's child as well. Humbert understands that it was not her husband who had kidnapped her from the hospital. Now he wanted to know who was that. Who was that person who kidnapped her from the hospital? She says that man was a playwright in the drama where she had taken part. And he is the one who wanted Lolita to get into child pornography. When she denied, she was beaten by that man. She reveals the name also, that is Claire Quilty. Claire Quilty was the playwright, and another business of Claire Quilty was that he was into child pornography. So he wanted to make Lolita as a porn star, therefore, Lolita escaped from his clutches. After listening to the stories, the rather sad story of Lolita, Humbert says that okay, fine, you take this money and go away with your husband and lead a wonderful life. At that point of time, Lolita realizes that it was he was acting like a father and not as uh, a lover or anybody else. She became emotional as well. He was so heartbroken by the words of Lolita that she had relationship with Claire Quilty and then she got married to Dick. This shows that she was not loyal to her stepfather, and because of this, he was heartbroken and he was crying in his car as well. After leaving the place of Lolita, he goes straight to his home to meet lawyer and he gives entire property of his to Lolita. And after completing this task, he goes to find out Quilty, who had spoiled the life of Lolita and he himself as well. He was the one to separate Lolita from him. So he wanted to kill that man at any cost. So he started finding that man with a gun. Mr. Claire Quilty was at home and Humbert arrives. Humbert arrives with a gun. And as it is, he was very much angry at this man. And this was because Humbert was able to understand that how much pain he had created in the life of Lolita, how much she was hurt. The girl who was his love. So Claire starts laughing at looking at this man, but he shoots him repeatedly and Claire dies. After killing Claire, he takes wrong turn towards highway where he was stopped by the police. Now, he was not in a mood to, go away from police because he was already heartbroken and he did not have any reason to live in this world. So he gets arrested by himself and then he comes out of the car for the same. Now, after the arrest of Humbert, we find the story of Humbert is over, which is written in the manuscript, which was being read by Mr. Ray. So, after reading the story of Humbert, Mr. Ray feels very angry at this man, angry because unethical activities were done by Humbert, but he sympathized also because that girl was the sole reason for his survival, which was taken away by the society members. So, with these two emotions, the novel ends. So, friends, we have completed the novel Lolita, which is, of course, at some point vulgar, and we, as literature enthusiasts, we have to read each and every novel, and we have to see what are the points which can be implemented in our society for the upliftment. Because every novel, every read will have impactful result which we need to see. Instead of seeing at the vulgar side of the novel, we should be able to see that where did we lag, because of which character like Lolita was created, character like Humbert was created, where society went wrong. So we have to work on the flaws of our society rather than removing these books from our bookshelf. So by this I take leave from you. In our next video we will come up with some other work. Till then, take care and bye bye.